There you go.
Is it good?
Yep.
All right. So my name is Kelci, and I'm sure that lots of you have been to like a zoo or aquarium. There's like the LA Zoo, the San Diego Zoo, places like that. There are mixed opinions on the ethics of these places, whether you agree with animals staying in nature, or whether you agree with that it's okay that animals are being kept in habitats. One of the main organizations who's against places like this is PETA. And if you don't know who PETA is, they're an organization and they are people for ethical treatment of animals. And they supported a documentary called Blackfish, and that was advertised as a mesmerizing psychological thriller. And it was about Tilikum, the killer whale, and how he killed his trainer, Don Brancheau, in 2010 in SeaWorld, Orlando, Florida. And this movie is misleading, and it's propaganda that negatively affects all SeaWorld parks. And it is one of the points of my main point that SeaWorld is a legitimate company that protects all of its animals. And my secondary points are that PETA's propaganda against SeaWorld hurts the animals that they care about, and SeaWorld puts in tremendous effort to take care of all of their animals. So my first supporting point is that PETA harms SeaWorld's mission of explore, inspire, and act. The propaganda makes people think negatively towards SeaWorld. It's very good at using pathos, if you've watched it before. A Time article reported that SeaWorld's profits went down 84% after Blackfish was released in late 2013. And Blackfish became very popular after CNN aired it. So that's when it got a lot of its traction. In 2014, SeaWorld's profits were $37.4 million, and then a year later, it was only $5.8 million. And in 2014, SeaWorld had 100,000 less guests than the year before it. And I can attest to that because I myself worked at SeaWorld for a year and a half. So I saw the decline in visitors and guests. And like I saw just that there were way less people who were interested. When the public doesn't support SeaWorld, it hurts the animals because ticket sales go towards the SeaWorld Conservation Fund. And I'll go more into that on my secondary point. But yeah, that's the conservation fund gets funding from the tickets. Whenever I would drive to work, I would see PETA protesters multiple times. I would be going into where the parking lot was, and I would see tons of people with signs saying, stop captivation, or like end breeding, like people were just protesting against it. And there were people who would see that before they even entered the park. So that affected how their whole entire day might have been. SeaWorld has rescued over 28,000 animals over the past 50 years, but public outcry makes it more difficult for SeaWorld to do their job. An example is that SeaWorld San Diego decided to end the orca breeding program. They had previously stated before making this decision that ending the breeding program was inhumane, and now they changed their mind, and now they've stopped the breeding program because of public opinion on animals and habitats, and specifically how they view SeaWorld as a company now. So the drop in profit, the drop in public support, and the ending of the orca breeding program are all some of the results from PETA's propaganda campaign. My secondary point, or supporting point, is that SeaWorld aims to take care of its animals in the best possible way. If you visit the park, you learn about marine animals, you learn how they live in the wild and what you can do to protect them. The team members who educate the park visitors, they're known as educators. They teach people as well as supervising the habitats to make sure that nothing bad happens to the animals, and in some cases they even care for the animals. An example of the educators caring for the animals is that with dolphin trainers, they teach the visitors about the dolphins, and they care for them medically, and they feed them, and they even do playtimes with them, and sometimes even the guests get to do playtime with them. It's pretty fun. And another point to SeaWorld taking great care of their animals is that SeaWorld gives people the opportunity to see animals that they may never see in person. For an example, you probably haven't seen a killer whale out in the wild, like they're an orca, or you probably haven't seen a beluga whale because they're in the Arctic. And seeing animals in person motivates people to be environmentally friendly. just by doing simple tasks like recycling or conserving water. And so that's how it's like SeaWorld extends their taking care of animals, because they're motivating more people to help. The SeaWorld Conservation Fund, like I mentioned before, they give grants to conservation organizations, and they focus on animal rescue and rehabilitation, conservation education, habitat protection, and species research. And on their mission statement page, they state that part of the reason that the fund was created was to provide a way for people to make a difference. So like I just stated, you guys or whoever visits and learns about the animals, they can make a difference and help protect the animals. In addition to educating, SeaWorld employs a SeaWorld rescue team. They're on call for any animal rescues in the wild. They have hospital facilities to take care of the SeaWorld animals and animals that are rehabilitated in the wild. And when SeaWorld rehabilitates the animals, it's when they take an injured animal and they nurse it back to health, and then they release it back into the wild. So SeaWorld teaching visitors on how animals live, how to help them in the wild, and the Conservation Fund and Rescue Team are all ways that SeaWorld ensures animals are taken care of. In conclusion, PETA's emotionally charged propaganda-based campaign, along with Blackfish, put a negative tone on SeaWorld and its conservation efforts. Both may have had the intention of helping animals, but now the people who know how to take care of the animals have an uphill battle against PETA and people who support its claim. Thank you.
All right, the proposition's very clear. There's a good preview for the material. You signposted pretty well in the body of the speech. There are good explanations on your individual points. I like the personal observation based on your experience there to help give you a little bit of credibility. What's missing, I think, is a lot more citation of the information. You present a lot of claims about SeaWorld and claims about the effect that the protests have had. I think you did a pretty good job, for example, at the beginning, citing statistics about the decline in attendance at SeaWorld and the decline about their profitability. Although I don't remember getting a source citation on that, I didn't think that you were just making up those numbers, so I know that they came from someplace. There's also a spot where you say that they've done 20,000 animal rescues over 20 years. I could use a source citation on that. The question about the orca breeding problem being good or being bad, that apparently if it's opposed by the public, then we're going to get rid of it. But if it was a good thing to have it in the first place, then it's a harm that we've gotten rid of it. But what is the harm? There's no explanation of that, and there's no data on that particular point. Your material on the value of the education in the park is dependent upon kind of your observation. You talk about the dolphin encounters. You make a mention of how people feel about animals once they see them in person. And I think that there's probably some truth on that, but I don't have any evidence that says that people ever act on that. They care more about it, they donate more. So for instance, do they donate more to causes? Do they conserve resources like you're talking about? Are they more careful about pollution kinds of issues? We don't have any data that supports that. It's just kind of your assertion on that, and that's a big part of your argument, so I think you need more evidence on those particular points. That seemed to me to be kind of the weak part of the argument. I thought that you had an excellent summary of what the argument was. I understood the point that you were trying to make. I could see the reasoning that you were trying to present. What I'm looking for is the proof that backs up that, and it's not quite as strong as it needs to be. On the first point, I think it's pretty obvious that PETA and Blackfish have had a significantly negative impact on SeaWorld. But your argument is that that negative impact is having a harmful effect on the animals, and that's what we need to see. So, like if they don't have the resources to do the animal rescues that you're talking about, have we got examples of how they've been unable to pay for doing those things, or they don't have facilities anymore for taking care of the animals, or they have fewer employees that are on the rescue teams, that sort of stuff? That's the kind of stuff that I think would make your argument a lot more convincing. All right, thank you.